I want to talk about why I have never played, and will never play, a game as addictive as World of Warcraft. A lot of people get sucked into the online multiplayer world because there's such a buzz around it. Especially since the release of Fortnite Battle Royale in 2017, no one could seem to get off their devices. And that was great. I played it so much when I was 13, 14 years old. It was more like when I was 14, because that's when I got a laptop that could actually run it. And it wasn't until season 4 where it actually worked. There was a problem in season 3. It was so terrible. I wanted all the season 3 emotes, and I just couldn't get them because my laptop wouldn't allow it. And I never had an Xbox or PlayStation growing up. Oh, how daunting that felt as a 14-year-old when all your friends had the PlayStation 4. I have fond memories of those times, but for a lot of people it gets out of control. Whereas I had only been a gamer for 6 years at that point, I managed to control my time well and I didn't get too addicted to them. In fact, I had restrictions on my devices until I was 16 years old. I couldn't buy any PEGI 18 games. Well, I did buy GTA San Andreas at age 14, but you get the point. I at least had a deeper voice by the time I actually started playing these PEGI 18 games. But there is a whole other world of addictive content out there in the form of MMORPG. These include League of Legends, RuneScape, and World of Warcraft. And I want to tell you a story that I learned back in school when we had this class called Wellbeing, and in 1 week we had a guest who spoke about his World of Warcraft addiction and how it genuinely corrupted his life. So he started off with his account, leveling up, playing the games here and there. It was all fun and games, but there was a problem. He couldn't stop playing. He was playing for 10, 12 hours a day, and eventually he had no time to work because all he wanted to do was play World of Warcraft. And I'm pretty sure you had to have a subscription for some features in that game, and he got that. So he used all his money on World of Warcraft. Then his parents were fed up of how he lived, so he got kicked out the house. Then he resorted to living in his car and playing World of Warcraft at internet cafe. It was really dire for him. And I know my mum mentioning someone who had a similar story. He was doing his A-levels and all he did was play World of Warcraft, failed a few A-levels, didn't do well in others, and ended up becoming a carpenter with his dad in the north of England. Which, I mean, that worked out better than the guy here, but it just goes to show it did ruin his education to a vast degree. So this guy ended up living in his car and living day to day just to play World of Warcraft, and he was bankrupt. Couldn't live anywhere, he didn't even have the petrol to go anywhere. All his money was going towards was World of Warcraft, and he genuinely couldn't escape this. It was so bad at this point, and eventually he got help and he was able to quit his addictions. Now his life purpose is to tell people about video game addiction and how bad it was for him. We also had a man come in and talk about a gambling addiction, and some of the principles of his addiction and gambling were similar to that in World of Warcraft, because in World of Warcraft it was just an excessive spending of time and energy on World of Warcraft, which sucked everything else out of your own life. There may be some wildly varying addictions, but a lot of them act on the same core principles, that they suck the joy out of other areas of your life. You may have had this on a micro scale at some point. You may have just got YouTube on your iPhone and you watch it all day, every day. Then you may discover Netflix and you watch that all day, every day. And eventually all you're doing is watching YouTube or Netflix. And now whenever you want to stop, everything else seems so boring in comparison, because all you've got to compare it to is Netflix and YouTube. And that stuff is so stimulating. It fries your dopamine receptors so that you cannot find anything else fun, because your baseline levels of dopamine for happiness are set so high. It ruins your ability to have fun. So having had this lecture from this man who had a World of Warcraft addiction, and with this new knowledge now, I made a conscious decision to never play it. When I got my gaming PC when I was 15 years old, it was so tempting to get it. But I had Fortnite at the time, and Fortnite was good enough, you know. I wasn't that addicted that I needed a new game to stimulate me. And thankfully, I had the conscious awareness to not get World of Warcraft or RuneScape, or League of Legends for that matter. That stuff can take so much out of your time. And thanks to these lessons I learned from the man who came and gave a talk in Wellbeing about World of Warcraft, I stayed well clear of that game. If you've had a similar experience with World of Warcraft or a long MMORPG like the ones I've mentioned, then please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. Thanks for listening, take care, and see you in the next video.